back home soon so I can be plugged into the router, and we'll do some more graphics and stuff on this. But in the meantime, fingers crossed, did I send us out on the right stream? It would appear that I did. We are live, NBA Live Before Lock, Saturday style. It's your old pal EMac, joined by Matt Belman, as we get ready for the last NBA only Saturday, because next Saturday we'll be competing with the MLB. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the scheduling. But for now, NBA is king, the real March Madness, because even with only 8 teams in our player pool, Matt, there will be chicanery, what do we say? A splendiferous strategy. Come up with all the good words there. Are you ready? Are you buckled up?
I am. NBA DFS is it's a tough proposition these days, but you just got to stay on the grind in order to stay up to date on everything that's happening. Luckily, only 4 games tonight, all split start time. So I feel like tonight is a relative breeze considering what we've been dealing with lately. You never know what can happen, but as of now, it looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, my guess is something's going to happen with the Knicks. We'll make our suppositions. That's the second game of the slate, so we are unlikely to have much information at lock, because the first game goes off at 7 o'clock, and then I think, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 10:30. So a very dispersed slate as the NBA is going against March Madness right now. So this is going to be a fun one. Oh, this is a good one here. Before we start in the show, and as we gather people, I see Michael Wallace has put in a $1.99 super chat. Have any of the fellas won $100,000? So I'll let you talk about your wins. I never have. I've had several 5-figure weekends, but or days or slates, and I think I've even won. I think the most I've ever won is like $13,000, but I don't usually play the contests that pay out that much. I prefer to do a different strategy. So while I still do put in, $120,000 a year in entry fees, I'm usually kind of capped out of my winnings being, between $5,000 and $10,000 on a slate. I've had tons of $5,000 days. But I believe Greg has won $100,000. I think Eric has as well. I know both of them have had $100,000 days before in multiple sports. And then obviously of the people you watch, Josh, I think, has had $100,000 day. I know he's won in MMA significantly in the past. And then Spags has done pretty well, especially when he was grinding here in the early days of Osmo. He had a few $50,000 days. But Matt Belman, Matt B puts me to shame here, Matt. What are some of your better victories?
Yeah, I definitely have a few 100K wins in my belt, on my belt notch, I guess, if you want to put it. Usually I'm playing the higher stakes, at least like, the 5-5-5 type stuff. So easier for me than guys who play the lottery, the $15. But yeah, I've had some real good. In all sport, I've had 100K win in every sport. Well, all 3 major sports: MLB, NBA, and NFL. My most recent one is this past NFL season. I got a couple lineups looming in golf. I'm not usually a golf DFS player, but I've been messing with the tools, and I got a few sixes left in some higher stakes stuff. So hopefully I can take that down and add to my collection. But yeah, I don't think tonight is going to be the night I get another 100K win, because the contests are pretty muted, but hopefully soon. And we'll see what we can do this evening.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I see in chat there, Thomas Ryan said he won the $4 for $10,000 a couple weeks ago on a Saturday because of our show. Well, thank you. I don't believe we clicked the buttons for you, Thomas. That was all you. But I'm glad we were here to help at least. So we'll see if we can provide some value today. All right. Oh, Nicholas Barrett says there's 4 major sports. We're not really counting MMA, are we? But
yeah, I'm not an MMA fan. Not that I hate it. I'm not It doesn't really tickle my fancy. Therefore, I've never really ventured into the DFS streets. I feel the same about golf, but for some reason, I've just been, I don't know, something called me in last week and I've continued with it. So, we got tools for all this stuff now. So it makes it a lot easier to make sure your lineups are highly, ROI in the simulations.
Yeah, most definitely. And then as we head over towards talking about the show, because of course we will do that, we do have, I've been getting messages from a lot of folks about our different tools here. And keep in mind, especially for the Sims, there are tutorials. If you guys are doing, I should be sharing the screen, up at the top right corner there, if you click on the tutorials, it's going to take you to a page that has a whole bunch of different videos that break down all the different things about the tools, different strategies, how to use the entry manager, how to use the Sims, etc. And then if you guys can't find stuff, you feel free to message me. I can do a quick Google search, but a lot of these are on. If you go to the Stokastic channel and you search that, like search lineup generator NBA, you'll bring up other channels or other videos because Greg has done a ton of these. So they are out there. We want to make sure that you guys know how to use the tools. Just quickly, don't ask right before lock. And two, if you haven't used these, don't enter a whole bunch of contests. Practice first or enter low dollar contests first, because the first time you miss a lock or something goes crazy, you're going to be angry, and nobody wants that. It takes a couple slates to get it under your belt, but you can practice all of that before lock and even during lock. You can go through the steps in the process just to see what you would do. That's something that Fast Eddie Fear used to espouse when he was gracing the airwaves with DFS. Information. All righty, let's look at our first game. We will go game by game here. I put up some game notes, but then I didn't go back and update them because I got distracted. Golden State favored by a bucket in Atlanta. No Steph Curry. He's going to miss about a week with that tailbone / pelvic injury when he fell and hurt himself in the last game. So we know that Gary Payton II is available to play. He had missed the last game. And then we also saw Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski return to action. Kuminga missed a ton of time with an ankle issue, and then Podziemski had missed 6 or 8 games with a sore back. They're all going to have to chip in and help out with Curry being out. And then randomly, Clint Capella, who I thought was out for personal reasons, apparently he's going to miss the rest of the season with ligament issues on one of his, I forget if it's a shooting hand or not. It doesn't matter because this is the end of his contract with Atlanta, but it's important to note that he is not going to be in the picture. So that brings us to the dubs, Matt. We've got Jimmy Butler rising to the top here. We've got the wonderful world of Steve Kerr mixing and matching those rotations. What do you want to do with Golden State?
Yeah, we start with a banger here. I mean, probably my favorite overall team on the slate. I mean, you could say Milwaukee, without Dame, in a really good spot. But man, Golden State, no Steph with these price tags. Like, I want a lot of Golden State in my life here. Start with Jimmy Butler. 8,500 fair tag, but I think he's got upside there in this spot. I mean, he's the guy right now leading the offense with no Steph. He does it all. I like him a ton. I like Kuminga a lot. He's just too cheap. Projects for over 30 fantasy points at 5,300. Sign me up. Quentin Post, 3,600. I know we got some questions on him last slate, and on that particular slate, we didn't love him, but I did mention he looked great in the tools. He looks really good in the tools again. So I'm going to have some Quentin Post in my life. Podziemski. He's getting ownership, but I think it's deserved. I like him a lot. I like Draymond. I think he looks like a solid cog in the machine type at 6,700. I like Buddy Hield at 4,100 as a guy who can get buckets off the bench. I think Peyton is in play at 4K off the bench. I mean, I want a lot of Golden State here. There's only 8 teams on this slate. I think Golden State ranks number 1 to me in terms of fantasy goodness tonight.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting here. So one of the wagers that was floating around out there I saw on Twitter, and several of our people in Tails were on it super early this morning. The plus 13.5 points plus rebounds plus assists for Jimmy Butler. Now that's in one of those deeper cuts of combinatorial stats, but this is one of the things that's now available on Portfolio EV, which we'll talk about later. But that's one that people were putting out there. I was picking the under, which was also courtesy of Portfolio EV. The under on, I believe it was 37.5 PRA. The interesting thing with Butler is, while he is a decent scorer, a creative scorer, it's not always the volume that's there for him. And the other thing that he does that really has helped out Golden State as they've won some ungodly thing, like 16 out of the 19 games have been victories since he's joined the team. He gets to the line almost 8 times a game. And while that's good for creating points, it's never really been there for volume for him. He's also going to pick up a decent amount of the offensive facilitation with Curry out, or that's the supposition anyway. So I don't mind, one, making him a DFS priority, because that's a contained ecosystem that has its own, is being played in its own environment with finite DFS points, but still taking the under on his wagers. And that's something that you guys can always think about. You sort of hedge out a bad performance, or take advantage on both sides. But I think Butler is going to obviously be very, very crucial tonight for a lot of players. We don't know who's going to start. It could be Quentin Post, but with Onyeka Okongwu being the center on the other side, it could easily be Draymond Green, and then one of the many wings could still start for Golden State. So that's going to make things interesting. But with Post, regardless of whether he starts or comes off the bench, he's kind of set in this like 22 to 24 minute range, which it shouldn't really upset the apple cart one way or the other if he starts or not. But he is someone that was actually pretty cheap on DraftKings that it is a potential discount dandy. He's 3,600. He's center only, but you can see here on the screen he's projecting for low 20s in his fantasy points. We have been projected for around 21 minutes, so he's close to a fantasy point per minute guy. That's kind of an interesting spot there. If we go turn our attention to FanDuel, Matt, this is where we have to think about center only. It becomes a little trickier to consider him because he's 4,300. But it's going to burn our center spot. And even with just 8 teams in the player pool, there's a lot of other fantasy point per dollar centers that we would like. And that's not even counting the multi-position eligibility centers. So those are sort of my thoughts there on the Dubs. What do you think about Kuminga? Anything specific with him coming back? Because he's the guy I would expect to help pick up some of the scoring slack left behind by Curry, more so than Podziemski, with Podziemski and Butler kind of handling the offensive facilitation, then Draymond doing his usual stuff from the high post and from the low post.
Yeah, so what was the question? Sorry.
The question, sorry, I wrapped it in a lot of stuff. What do you think of Kuminga?
I like Kuminga a lot here. He's just too cheap. I mean, he looks like one of the better plays on the slate, dollar for dollar. Yeah, I mean, 5,300 with no Steph in this spot, I like him quite a bit. Sure, there's probably a minutes cap here, but he's only 5,300. We saw, granted, there was no Butler in the past, but he was like 7K plus, a couple months ago before he got hurt. So I'm a big Kuminga fan in general. I'll play him here, no doubt.
All righty, let's turn our attention to the other side here. Let's take a peek at Atlanta. So for Atlanta here, Trae Young approaching 5 figures on both sides. That's going to make it a little tricky to roster him comfortably because we've got a bunch of guys in that Los Angeles game that are going to be commanding some of the salary cap here, plus Antetokounmpo here. You've got Onyeka Okongwu, who is a strong option who's been performing quite well and had actually essentially banished Clint Capella to the nether regions or the netherworld, the ethereal plane with his play. And then Dyson Daniels. Did you know Dyson Daniels is leading the league with 3 steals per game? The next closest players are at 1.8. That is ridiculous.
The Great Barrier Thief is what they call him. So, yeah, he is a monster on the defensive end.
All right. Handing this over to you. Atlanta plays tomorrow. They're the only team on the front end of a back-to-back among the 8 in our player pool, with the Wizards the only team on the second leg of a back-to-back, having played yesterday. What do you like or dislike from Atlanta?
Atlanta's not a team I love here. Golden State's been good defensively. The game should be competitive, so I don't think you want to cross them off if you're multi-entering, but the only guy I really think I could see making a priority-ish here is Dyson Daniels, guy you mentioned, 7K. Projects pretty well. I don't love him here. I like the Golden State guys more, but if you want to run back, I think he would be the guy. After that, probably Okongwu. 7,600 seems fair there. Nothing about that tag stands out where I have to roster him, but totally fine with it. I think he's a solid look. After that, I mean, if you want to play Trae Young, I'll never tell anyone not to, but doesn't look like a great play at his price tag here. That said, it's a small slate. All of a sudden, you get a really competitive game that goes way past the total. You'll probably need Trae Young. So for me, I don't really want to look at the secondary Atlanta pieces or the tertiary guys, but I'm fine with Okongwu, Daniels, and then Trae Young if you want to get there at point guard.
All right. Looking at those secondary pieces, we do have Karis LeVert available to play. I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. If he does play tonight, and indications are they are going to play him tonight. So he is someone that makes things just a little bit more crowded for the likes of Vit Krejci, Georges Niang, Zachary Risacher. The tertiary plays, as you mentioned, they're exactly that. Risacher I can't remember if it was last game or 2 games ago. He only played 8 or 9 minutes in the first half of the game. Keep in mind, he's a youngster. They could be trying to avoid the rookie wall a little bit, but they know they need him to be on the court in order for the team to continue chugging towards at least a shot at the postseason here, a shot at that first round of the playoffs outside of the play-in tournament. So we could see him getting some moderated minutes, but not outright rest, which just makes things a little bit crowded here for everyone. But that along with appropriate pricing on both sides has made it tough to get to them. And the final call out I have is Dyson Daniels is $1,000 more on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He's all the way up to $8,000, where those 3 points for steals for your league leader there have really elevated his price point. Let's do a quick fun thing here. Well, fun for me because I get to remind everybody that we have a fun promo code here. This is promo code CYCLE, as in hitting for the cycle, getting a single, double, triple, and a home run in the same game. That promo code gets you everything we have for baseball through April 1st. So again, I'm going to say this because people had a ton of questions when we did this after the All-Star break for basketball. If you buy this, you will get from the 27th on opening day through April 3rd. Sorry, you're going to get it for a full week. Everything for $1. Whether you sign up today or whether you sign up on April 1st, on March 31st, you get $1 for access through April 3rd. So check that out. That is promo code CYCLE. Game number 2, Matt. Look at that. We're already 25% of the way through the slate. This is perfect. We have the Washington Wizards in New York taking on the Knicks. As we mentioned, the Wiz are on a back-to-back. New York is almost, depending on the site you look at, 15 to 16 point favorites. To me, it feels like someone is going to be resting tonight for the Knicks. Could it be Miles McBride, who is questionable? Maybe. Could it be Hart? Could it be Anunoby? Could it be Karl Anthony Towns? Perhaps. On the Washington side, we're without Chris Middleton. Bilal Coulibaly, as a reminder, is out for the remainder of the season, as is Corey Kispert. We need to call out that Rashawn Holmes has been a DNP in each of the last 3 games because Tristan Vukcevic is getting backup center run in addition to playing some power forward. And then just because anybody can DNP at any time. Justin Champagny played a game, signed in a contract extension, started and played like 37 minutes, came off the bench, and then was a DNP. So even the players that are young could get DNPs here. We are at that point of the season with the Wizards. Is there anything you're intrigued by from Washington with the peril that we understand, like with Jordan Poole, perhaps maybe not having a pool party for the remainder of the year?
Yeah. Washington doesn't look great here. Vukcevic looks okay. Think you can play him. I'd rather get to like Quentin Post, probably Trey Lyles than him, but he's fine at 44. No problems with it. It projects well there, getting some ownership and not too much. After that, there's really nothing for me. Sarr is too expensive at this point in this spot. Not that I'm like worried about the Knicks defensively. I mean, they're a good matchup, but it's not like a team I'm going out of my way to play Sarr at 6,700. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks are the side of this game I think you want, and I have way less concern than you do. It's Tibbs, and none of these guys are questionable except McBride. So, yeah, McBride
I'm just saying this is the Saturday shenanigans.
Yeah, it is, but it's the Knicks. It's Tibbs. Like, I would agree with you basically anywhere else, but here, they're coming off 2 bad games. Now, to your point, they're not playing for anything as far as seeding goes. They're locked into number 3. So, could we see their minutes be a little funky? Yeah, I think we've been seeing that a little bit. Could one of them sit out? Sure. I'm not planning on that personally. For me, though, like the Knicks, Towns looks really good. He is a guy I'm a tad worried about because he's getting a ton of love. We just haven't seen monster production from him lately. That can switch, though. Like, would not be surprised to see him be like the leading scorer on the slate tonight. So I think you got to get some Towns in your life. After that, OG, I like, he's a little bit pricey, but he's taken on a good role. Hart always in play. Bridges to a lesser extent. He's getting more ownership than the other guys also. So for me, I would rank them Towns, Hart, OG, Bridges. If McBride is out, bump to all those guys and the campaign becomes a really good value play. So we'll have to wait and see. If we do get some Knicks out, the other guys just look that much better because it's a great spot, no doubt.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I am hoping for here is just to give someone else a little bit more opportunity because, as you mentioned, the Tom Thibodeau run the players into the ground aspect of this. Let's see if I had any other notes that I wanted to mention. Just came through that Miles McBride is going to be a game time decision. Oh, joy. Remember when he was starting and then wasn't actually playing in that game? That was a fun one. So, hey, good times. The Knicks are 3-3 in the 6 games without Jalen Brunson. Brunson is going to be out for maybe another week. They say he's getting close to a return. I don't know what to believe anymore with NBA injury reporting, but that doesn't really do anything for us tonight. But as you mentioned, the Knicks have a 3-game lead against Indiana, 4 games against Milwaukee for that number 3 seed, and before they see that fritter away, they should have Jalen Brunson back. So that by de facto gets you to, as Matt said, they're kind of ensconced in that third best record there in the Eastern Conference. Anything else you would like to bring up for this game?
I don't think so. Just again, per your call, be prepared for some Knicks shenanigans, I guess.
Yes. Put ownership up dorks. Well, Joe, I don't think so. There we go. I'm the one that's doing it. If you want to look at the screen, you'll see that I'm going to go team by team, and that's one of the columns that's there. But no, there's no name calling here. There's no name calling. Let's see what else we have. These Saturday shows are painful. Hey, go watch March Madness. Highly recommend it. It's basketball. You know when you're going to be sad about these shows? When they aren't here. Everybody bitches until the shows go away, and then you're clamoring, oh, why don't you have shows? So enjoy what you have. Enjoy what you have. Let's go on to game number 3 here, Matt, and we're actually going to have plenty of time for questions. Milwaukee Bucks at Sacramento Kings. Kings favored by a bucket. Lillard is out for a second game with a calf injury. Jericho Sims out for the remainder of the year with a thumb issue. Of course, Bobby Portis is still suspended. Giannis and Gary Trent Jr. are both questionable with respective left and right knee issues. On the Sacramento side, Sabonis is going to be out for the 3rd consecutive game. He has missed 10. Well, let's just call it of his last 10, he's missed 8.5 of those games because he got injured into it. He is going to be out for at least 10 more days. So yikes, that makes things tough. I see someone in chat had mentioned Trey Lyles. I think he is a tremendous option tonight. Hopefully you picked him up in your season-long leagues as a streamer before things locked today with that Nets and Pacers game. Matt, you have the Milwaukee Bucks. You have Giannis. Here's your pop quiz. Giannis is averaging almost 1.7 fantasy points per minute this season. He's averaging almost 1.7 fantasy points per minute with Damian Lillard. How many fantasy points per minute do you think he's averaging without Damian Lillard? If it's 1.7 total, 1.7 with, how much is it without?
Wait, it's 1.7 total, 1.7 with. So it would be 1.7 without.
There you go. He logicked his way through it, folks. I was trying to throw him a curveball in honor of spring training winding down. Matt, you're all over it. Talk to us about the Bucks.
Yeah, so I said earlier that Golden State is the top team on the slate. I might backtrack on that a little bit. Milwaukee looks just as good. I mean, I like everything Milwaukee here. They're in a great spot. They just got out of a pretty bad losing streak. They killed the Lakers. Now they should be in a little bit more of a competitive game. So I think Giannis is a must play on this slate, considering the value we have. I like him a lot here. You know, maybe it would be a question between him and Luka if LeBron sits, but as of now, it's Giannis for me. You know, I'm always team KPJ over team Rollins. After we saw last game, though, Rollins started again. I was expecting Rollins to start, but man, he played like the whole first quarter. I'm just gonna play them both. 3,800 and 4K, 7,800 combined. I think you could easily get 50 plus fantasy points from those two here. So I got no problem just playing both KPJ and Rollins, knowing that I just think they're cheap enough where they both look like really strong plays here. So those 3 guys look like priorities for me. And then we get to Kuzma, who I like. I'm not going to say I love him, but he's too cheap for this spot with no Dame. Brook Lopez, I like him. And Gary Trent, I think he's in play. If you want to get real wild, I think you can look at Taurean Prince. Like, I wouldn't take him out of my pool in 150 settings, but he's not a guy I'm personally going to be playing. I'd rather play Gary Trent. So yeah, I mean, between Milwaukee and Golden State, that's where I'm going to be getting a lot of my ownership here.
All right. Let's add some thoughts here. So, back to my notes. Key things you need to know about Kevin Porter Jr. And I agree. I like him. I think his efficiency is going to go down as he gets more minutes, but he is currently averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute this season. That's coming off at almost a 25% usage rate. A lot of that is coming with the second unit or in mop-up duty. He also has a 28% assist rate. So to your point, it's kind of like, why aren't you playing this guy over Rollins? I think he's the crunch time guy. Rollins is a little bit better on defense. In the 9 starts that Rollins has this season, he is averaging almost 2.2 steals per game. If you go look at his game log, I think he has 11 steals in his last 5 games, 3 in his last 1 where he started. Be careful. That's buoying his fantasy ability. But at some point, we're going to have to recognize, hey, when he gets a little bit more run, he can create some steals here. Still a small sample size of 9 games, but that is what is making him look a little bit better. I think if he is out of sorts, is not doing very well, I don't think they're good. I think they will have a quick hook and they'll go to Porter because these are they do need to bank some wins here. So I agree with you that you can play both. I would have no issue playing both, but I think the path for Porter to get there is for really in a big way, like a 30 fantasy point way, is for Rollins to disappoint. But even then, Rollins, is he really going to disappoint that much if he played just 20 minutes and managed, 20 fantasy points tonight or 17? Not really on DraftKings. He still has a pretty decent price there. Kuzma. So we talked about Kuzma. I mentioned last week I'd read an interesting article that they brought him in to be kind of the super utility, do the dirty work lunch pail guy, pick up the tougher defensive assignments, focus on rebounding, and make sure that Antetokounmpo and Lillard would have the ability to focus on offense. Hey, guess what? Lillard's been out. So Kuzma has scored more than 20 points 3 times since he has joined the Milwaukee Bucks. 2 have been in each of the last 2 games. So they need him to continue to step into that role because it's him, it's Lopez, I guess, and obviously no Bobby Portis because he's still in the midst of his suspension. So I don't, like you, we don't love Kuzma today, but I don't think he's, off, an X out like I would have said last weekend. Or I would say if Lillard was healthy. Things have changed. Situations have changed. We have a much smaller player pool. But those are the guys we look at, like you, Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, Lopez. They're kind of last men in. Nothing exciting about them. But as soon as we start crossing players off, we're eschewing a whole bunch of our player pool because there's only 8 teams here. Matt, any stone left unturned here for the Bucks?
Not really. I think we talked about they're all in play. So it just depends on how you want to prioritize them.
All right. Move on over to Sacramento. Tell us what you like. Is it the Monkman? Is it Double B's? Is it Zach Attack? Is it J-Val? Trey Lyles? What do you have for us from the Kings?
Yeah, so I don't really love anything from Sacramento. I think all those guys are in play, but I don't love anything. I'm debating right now. The tools really like Quentin Post over Trey Lyles. I mean, he projects for 3 more fantasy points. Sounds like you disagree with that. Tell me why.
No, I'm good with Trey Lyles. I think he's
the tools like Post more.
I like Lyles more.
Why?
Because I think he's the savvy, cagey veteran. I think he can do more things, and I think Post is capped in that 20 to 23 minute range. Lyles, I think, has a path to more minutes. That's kind of why I was talking about Post. Is I don't mind him if he's starting or coming off the bench because I don't think he leaves that 20 to 23 minute range. Lyles has the path forward, which has me liking Lyles more.
Why do you think the tools like Post more? Because I personally kind of like Lyles more too.
Because they're probably smarter than us. Because they're factoring in a whole bunch of other things that our puny little brains are unable to comprehend, which is why they're the tools and why they are better than us. That would be my guess. But it's one of those where sometimes, right, when we have time, so we could have a quick little discussion here. Sometimes you're going to look at the tools and you're going to want to override what they're doing. You don't want to be doing that constantly, because the tools are really, really good and better than us for a reason. However, you may have a thought about something, you as a player, you may want to make a stand somewhere. You may feel the rest of the field is on the wrong player. You may want to be way above them, even if if someone's really popular, you may want to push your chips into the table and go up to 90%, right? Those are the tweaks that you want to do. I think this is a good spot to make a tweak and make a stand and say, hey, I'm okay. I trust tools on everything else, but you know what? IKB, I know better. Hopefully, at least before tip-off, we're going to push our chips in on Lyles. But that's kind of how I look at some of these, Matt, when I'm building.
Yeah, I do too. I just, with ones like this, we're like, yeah, I like Lyles more too, just like off the top of my, I think he's got more upside, et cetera. But man, like, Post projects for 3.5 more fantasy points. That said, he's way more owned. So maybe I'm just going to play Lyles, I think, over him. because Post is getting so much more ownership. But like, what am I missing with Lyles here? Like, I don't get why Post is projected so much better personally.
My guess is that Lyles is, and I may not be using the right words here, but I think his projection is a little more fragile in that there's not as much of a trend per se behind it because Jonas Valanciunas is sitting, right? So, okay, what's going to happen with Jonas Valanciunas? He gets to go against Brook Lopez? Does, semi-mobile big versus semi-mobile big, is that good or bad for him, right? Because Joe Val's one of the people that can get played off the court. It's probably okay for him. But what if the Kings want to go more mobile? Well, it's not going to be with Joe Val. That's a favor for Lyles. Lyles, we already know he's going to get the backup center minutes. Lyles probably is going to play a little bit of power forward too. Okay, how does Post improve? Because he's going to be battling Draymond. He's going to be battling the bucket. He's going to be battling. Why am I blanking on the guy that was their starting center in their championship year, and now he's coming off the bench for 10 minutes a game? I can't remember who's the third center on. I got to go look that up.
On the Kings?
No, on Golden State. I've thrown.
Looney, Trace, JD, TJD.
Well, no, Trace isn't even, is he still with them? I don't think he's still with them. He got bounced, right?
I don't think he got bounced. I mean,
depth charts, Golden State, and you're gonna laugh at me. Kevon Looney.
Yeah, Looney. I said Looney.
Oh, sorry. I have a bad earphone here. It's nothing but static. Get rid of it, actually. All right. So that to me oh God, now static's coming in through the other one. I just need some new AirPods. That's what I really need. That to me, that's why I like Lyles better. Chat, what do you guys think?
I'm playing Lyles over Post. Like the tools do not like that. But man, but personally, I just think that's the move to make, especially at that ownership. Like I don't know. I just think that's the move.
All right. Let's see. What about playing both? No issues with that. They're on different teams. They don't cap each other's upside. That's totally acceptable. There are a lot of good center fantasy point per dollar plays. These are two of them. But now we're looking at capped upside. What does it get you? This would be a way to get you to Trae Young, right? Who's approaching 5 figures on the sites, but playing both these cheaper guys, then you got some money to spend. You could go that route, right? So nothing wrong with these different possibilities. Does anybody want something free? How about Portfolio EV? If you have not yet signed up for Portfolio EV or used the 7-day free trial, it is available for you. Portfolio EV is a lot of fun. It is a nice way to get all of the heavy lifting done for you when you are looking at the sports wagering world. And we're adding in markets all the time. I noticed on Portfolio EV, there was some first half bets that were popping up. That is something new. I got to be on a call last week with the developers. They are adding in several other new wrinkles. So if you have not yet signed up for Portfolio EV, I highly suggest you do, because not only are we getting some of those more exotic wagers like rebounds plus assists, but we're getting different lines, different game segments, etc. So check that out. This is the wave of the future. This is the cash games of the past. With the top-down betting model, you can build a sustainable bankroll, and then you can earmark those funds to DFS for your upside. Don't dock too much off on same-game parlays. They are fun. They'll give you stars in your eyes, but they're not advantage play options. Check out Portfolio EV. Is Kuminga not starting? Yes, the expectation is that Kuminga is probably not going to start. No guarantee, of course, but let me show you guys something since you may not have seen it. We have the starting level, the starting lineups page for Stokastic. So this is free. And we'll put this on the screen here. So what we've got is we've got a new page here as teams have confirmed their starting lineups. They turn green. So we can see that we did get the Golden State Atlanta Hawks starting lineup here. It's Pods, Moody, Butler, Draymond Green, and Quentin Post. That is as we had projected it earlier. That came to fruition. Same thing there with the Hawks. But you can see there are notes here that have been put in by the projection team. And this also is a good quick way to look and see who is being projected into the starting lineups. Because if we look at the Wizards, then you know that we're going tonight with AJ Johnson, Justin Champagnie, and Keyshawn George. So that's how you know who is in the starting lineups when you go look at the projections, if you are curious about that. So check that out. That is free for everybody. Ooh, it looks like we're projecting LeBron James to return to action along with Rui Hachimura. So check.
Does Post confirm starting change your Post versus Lyles?
No. I'm still of that same mindset that I don't think he's going to clear. But let's look at that real quick. We got 18 minutes. Sorry, basketball reference.
I mean, the other thing is, like, I feel like Sacramento is really backing away from JaVale, and we see that a lot of times with JaVale, and the projections aren't really going to be able to take that into account. But like Lyles has played bigger minutes recently, so I don't know. I'm justifying here because I like Lyles more and I'm going against the projections. But I also always like, whenever I have a tie with like a role player like this, I'd rather take the guy at home. In a similar matchup, it's good matchups for both. I like these role players more at home. Again, that's probably just me justifying to myself, but that's what I'm going to do. So
yeah. So I've got it up on the screen here. We can see that in March, 6 starts here for Post. He has played between 20 and 25 minutes. Let's toss out that 8-minute start there. But you can see he doesn't really go above it. But when he's coming off the bench, like in the last game, 22 minutes off the bench. The last game in February, 24 minutes off the bench. So that's where I was saying I think he's in that projectable 20 to 23-minute range, regardless of his responsibilities for that game. So that to me is, old news. Not worried about it. But again, we could be overstepping our bounds here, Matt, and putting just a little too much of our preference onto the player pool here. Alrighty,
honestly, I just got it. This is a big decision point for me, so I'm sure other people are going to be looking at this. For me, like, it's the ownership too. Like, Post is projected for more, but man, like, he's coming in 6 times as high owned as Lyles, when I think Lyles has higher upside. Like, again, I'm playing Lyles, so I'm probably justifying, but that's how I feel. I'm also playing a ton of Golden State, so that's a nice way for me to get like different, within. Instead of playing 5 Golden State guys or 4 Golden State, I'll play Lyles instead of Post.
All right, last game of the night. We got 15 minutes to go. They're asking about the nuke. We'll put the nuke in here. Not the fair, but we've got Chicago. We know that Lonzo Ball is out yet again. He's going to be out for at least 10 more days. May or may not even see him for the remainder of the season. We know that Ayo Dosunmu out for the rest of the year. And then we've got Trey Jones, who is going to be out for at least a week. That leaves us with Josh Giddey, who got a maintenance day in the mix here. Kevin Huerter should see more of a role. And Kobe White has become the de facto lead scorer from the backcourt. What do you like from the Bulls?
So the Bulls are interesting. I don't love the matchup. The Lakers have been very good defensively, but with Trey Jones out now, like, to go along with, the other injuries you mentioned, I think Josh Giddey looks elite here. He's coming in as one of the highest leverage plays on the slate. I like him a lot. I think you got 4 really good spend up options tonight with Giannis, Towns, Butler, and Giddey. Those 4 guys, some combination are going to be in a lot of my lineups. I like Giddey quite a bit here. He's probably my least favorite of that group, but he's also the lowest owned of that group. So do with that what you will. I like Josh Giddey a lot here.
I would concur. 8,600, tall order, but
it is.
Players do.
It is, but like, that's just going off of his name and what we know from him in the past. Like, he's worthy of that tag. I haven't been on Giddey like a ton this year. I've played him a little bit, but certainly I wasn't like a Giddey truther through and throughout. But man, like, he just does it all. So he's a guy that you can feel pretty good about not going to tank your lineups right now because he's just doing everything for this team. And it's not the greatest matchup, but if the Bulls can stay somewhat competitive, then I think that Giddey gets there.
All right, the Lakers. Good God, the Lakers have, in theory, everybody available for the first time in quite some time. Expectations are that LeBron James will return to action. Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves were out of the last game. That was a rest situation as the team has this last home game before embarking on a 6-game road trip here. And they need to keep winning because that is much better than losing, as Nuke Lelouch once said. However, things get incredibly crowded if everybody is here. You can see it in the popularity. Nobody reaching double digits. Heck, only 2 people over 2% on DraftKings. That would be LeBron and Doncic. If we look at FanDuel, let's see what happens there. A little bit different, but not much. You've got LeBron, who's at 9,600, eligible at both power forward and small forward. He's at 20%. Doncic is at 16, and everybody is below 5. Can you bring yourself to click on any Lakers?
Nah, I don't think so. Not unless Bron is out. If he's out, then you automatically look at like Luka. I think Luka is, depending on the value, like he's going to be the highest scorer on this slate outside of Giannis, more than likely. So I could see it, but he projects 4 points less than Giannis as of right now, and he's 600 more. So hard for me to want to prioritize Luka. No Lakers for me. If Bron is in, if he's out, I think that's when you start to look at things.
It's going to be tough though, because that's the last game of the night. It is out there as a late night outpost by itself, and there's not much to switch to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of that, so based on that, there isn't a ton to switch to, and roster construction and lineup spots matter here. Who do you like more, Kuminga or Kuzma? Basically the same price. Tools like both a lot. You get the late roster spot with Kuzma. Who do you prefer there?
God, talk about the Sophie's Choice dilemma here, but not quite that dire. I am actually going to go with Kuzma. Despite me, basically saying, I don't really think we need to play him again, things have changed. Look what happened from last weekend to this weekend. We now have Damian Lillard out. They're running out of scoring options, and they still need another front court presence. So to me, now in each of his last, I'm going from memory because I don't have his game logs up anymore, but if I remember correctly, even though he's gotten to 20 points in each of the last 2 games, I think he's only taken like 11 or 12 shots in those games. I could be wrong on that. Now I want to double check that, but meaning volume not really there. So we need him to get there on efficiency. And even with that, I don't think he really has that great chance at getting to 40 fantasy points, where I think Kuminga has an outside chance at getting to 40 fantasy points. But
I thought you liked Kuzma more, you said.
I do like Kuzma more.
Oh, so you just said this wrong. Okay.
Sorry, then I said it backwards. I think Kuminga has the shot at 40 fantasy points. I do not think Kuzma does. I mean, a puncher's chance, but I think he's going to cap out around 35, where I think Kuzma could get to 40.
So you like?
I'd still play.
So wait, I'm confused.
Sorry, I'd still play Kuzma. God, why do I have to pick players that have similar sounding names? Kyle Kuzma, former Laker.
So you like him more, but you think Kuminga has a higher chance at 40?
Yes.
Okay, not really sure.
I like the baseline better. I like the baseline and safety better with Kuzma.
That's fair. I get it.
Because it's Steve Kerr. He has lots of other wing options.
You're not wrong.
It just missed 6.5 weeks. So I don't know. All right, super chats. 9 minutes to go here. 1-2 says dork. Well played. Well played. Chris Albers says favorite players by position, best plays and GPPs. That is for DraftKings. Who is on your short list at DraftKings?
So point guard is going to be Rollins and KPJ. How about you?
I'm perfectly fine with that. And yes, to answer that question before it comes up again, we can play both.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So shooting guard, I'm going to go with shooting guard's a little bit weaker. I'm going to go with Pajemski and Gary Trent.
I think those are okay. If Miles McBride is starting, then I like him. I think Kevin Huerter, although I have him at small forward, I think he would be the other guy. Small forward.
Small forward for me is going to be Jimmy Butler and Giddey.
Okay. Let's add in Kyle Kuzma at 5,400. OG Anunoby, put a pin in that one if somebody is out. The rest of the Knicks are going to be awesome. Antetokounmpo is basically your power forward tonight.
Yeah, agreed. I won't even say him. I'll say Kuminga and Kuzma. Both guys I like a lot.
All right. And then center. Is it Vukcevic? Is it Vucevic? Is it Post? Is it Towns? Or is it Lyles?
It's Towns and Lyles. I like Lyles a lot at that ownership, especially with Post getting so much love.
All right. And then the last super chat question. This is Jacob Dunn. It's in the $55 on DK. He says, what are your 3 best plays? He has enough that he can kind of overspend if needed.
3 best plays on the slate?
On DK, yes.
Giannis, Butler, probably Rollins.
Okay. And I'm guessing all honorable mentions, Lyles and KPJ. Is that
Yep. Sure.
All righty. Let's build out some lineups here because we got 7 minutes to go. Quickly build out some FanDuel lineups since I'm playing on the blue site. Go back to the main YouTube chat. Favorite plays on FanDuel? Well, by proxy, we're going to kind of get there. I'm going to see where it is because it's basically those same 5 guys that we mentioned for DraftKings. So we will find out on that here shortly. Does anyone know Pool's DK projection? I do not have that up, but I can get over there real quick. Pool is projected for 23.8 minutes and 27 fantasy points. Remember, the Wizards are trying actively to lose. 28 says EMac, is Lyles unplayable on FanDuel at $5,000? That's going to be a great question. We're going to see that shortly here as this comes up into my projections, or pardon me, into my sims here. So we have him for 22 minutes, 19 fantasy points at 5K. He is not popping up on FanDuel.
Completely unplayable on FanDuel.
Even with power forward eligibility, I think it makes it tricky to get to him. So let's look at 150 lineups. Did he appear in any of them for me? No, but Kuminga, yikes. Kuminga is way up there. I've got 80% Kuminga. I'm going to have to tamp that down. But let's see Lyles. Lyles is in no lineups. We have him projected to be in 3% of the field. So good question. Know your sites. I believe he's $11 on Yahoo. You do want to play it there. I think that's a little high for Kuminga. I'm going to go with 60%. I said that I liked Kuzma better. Above the field, I'm okay with that. We'll give him a little bit of a boost. What else came in? Rollins is coming in high. Yeah, I like most of these. Good representation from Porter there. We've got Daniels popping up significantly above the field. As I mentioned, he leads the league in steals. You always call out him as the great barrier thief. I forget that nickname. Ooh, do you really think LeBron is going to play tonight? And how many minutes?
I do. And I'm not sure how many minutes, but enough to make the other guys not playable to me, but not enough to make him playable. So that's how I look at it personally.
Okay, that's sort of my thought as well. So I do not want to go above the field. I will match the field. I'm a little more interested in Doncic. I think Reeves is out of the picture. So this is what happens when you put your hand on or your thumb on the scale. We can quickly look at the boosts here. So I said I wanted to be a little bit above the field on Kuzma. We'll give him 2 ticks. So we'll see quickly what happens if we just move him up 10%. How much did he change? He went up to 40%. That's a little bit rich. We're going to drop him down to 5. I said I wanted Doncic. Give him a couple boosts. And then no Trey Lyles on this. Oh, KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr. Give him a couple ticks. I'm okay with Herder. I think that's going to be good. Save these. And let's export them. We have 3 minutes to go. Did you get your lineups in, sir?
I did. Yeah, the Kuzma versus Kuminga thing. Like, I do think that Kuminga, I'm not sure who I like more. I'm getting to a bunch of both of them, to be quite honest.
I ended up with a lot more Brook Lopez than expected. That was the one player I did not mention a lot, but this is FanDuel, and that's how FanDuel is rolling with me today. Hit save. Go over there. Let's upload to FanDuel.
I like Kuminga more than Kuzma, I think, in a nutshell, but I think that Kuzma, I'm kind of with you. At first, I was like, huh? But then I'm with you. Like, I think that if you told me one of them got 32, I think it's more likely to be Kuzma. I think if you told me one of them got either 22 or 40, it's more likely to be Kuminga.
Uh-oh. My upload's not working. No. No, 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 no. Ah, well, that's going to be money on fire. Well, chat, the answer was no. EMac did not get his lineups in time. Bummer. It's very, very sad, man. Very, very sad. Well, we'll have to go fix that in post-production. Sadly, I can't put a pause on that. So don't try this at home, gamers. Don't try this at home. With that, I'm going to go cry into my dinner. So very sad for me. Very, very sad for me. But Matt, thank you for doing the show. We've got NBA Live before lock tomorrow. Maybe I'll have better luck then doing all of this fun. But you guys hit that like button on the way out. 1,300 of you. Let's get a few hundred likes. Let's get a few hundred likes. That will warm my heart and overfill the coffers here at Casa de EMac. You guys can find Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. You guys can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic_COM. With that, gamers, head over to Playback. I'll get that running now, and good luck.